I think people would be generally much happier. There would be much less depression, anxiety, fear, despair. I think there would be much less conflict in the world, conflicts between individuals, either in intimate relationships or friendships, between families, communities, nations. Take the conflicts that exist now between nations. They are all perpetrated by people who do not understand or feel what we are speaking of here. Those conflicts would come to an end. And as I said earlier, it doesn't mean that we would necessarily agree with everything. There would still be different points of view and discussions, and those discussions may be heated, but they would be informed by this understanding. There would be more tolerance, more openness, more ability to listen and feel another point of view, not just be stuck in one's own perspective. We would be a more compassionate society. We would take care of our animals much better. We would, as I said earlier, we'd have a harmonious relationship with nature, and that would have implications for. There's no area. There is no area of society that would not be profoundly affected by this understanding. It would infiltrate education, commerce, government, economics. It would transform everything from the inside.
This is what you're working towards, isn't it, Bernardo?
I have a more realistic view, I think, of what I'm doing. Look, analytic idealism as a conceptual theory, it doesn't change anyone's lives in and of itself, because it's something of the head. It's conceptual. It's thought stuff. It doesn't sink into the rest of your felt being, into your heart, into your emotions. The lived presence of your life is not directly affected by it. So what I see as the role of what I'm doing, what I'm trying to do, or what nature is trying to do through me, is to help people give themselves permission to truly listen to Rupert and others like him. So it's a secondary role, but nonetheless, I think it's an important role, because there may be people who listen to Rupert and their intuition is screaming to them, "This man is right. He's saying something important." But then comes the intellect and says, "But wait a moment. If a surgeon cuts into my brain, my experience changes. So how come experience is primary?" No, the intellect is the bouncer of the heart. And my role is to give yourself permission to keep that bouncer under control, to not let him sort of rule the pen, if you know what I mean. But real transformation comes from feeling it directly, and I can't help people do that. Rupert can. So I think my role is to sort of
pave the way
for people who are intellectually driven, which is not the majority. But it's a group of people who are disproportionately represented amongst the group that has their hands on the knobs and levers of human civilization. That group is prone to having a bouncer, an intellect-driven bouncer of the heart that is totally out of control. And those are the people I'm trying to reach, to not really prime them, but to make them more receptive to the transformative direct experience of non-duality that Rupert can help them achieve. So I don't want to come across as putting myself down too much. It's a secondary role in the sense that it is indirect, But I think for this particular group of people, it's something that is needed. So I don't want to come across as unduly or artificially too modest. And I'm just aware of what my role is.
Sure.
And
this group of people, though, you mentioned, though, if they became more open to this, it would trickle down far more easily. Would it not? And then,
of course,
you talked about the ego is, or the intellect is the bouncer saying no. What about the surgeon's scalpel? But there's also that wanting to fit into a tribe, isn't there? Of not wanting to stand against what is the perceived correct way of viewing things. I know this even as a sports reporter. I pretended to be a football fan for many years for the exact same reason. So that's a fundamental thing as well, isn't it, Rupert? It's the tipping point.
Yes. I think all three of us can identify with this now, because none of us are beholden to institutions for whom we are dependent for our livelihood. So nobody is telling us what to think or what to say. And that gives us great freedom. We don't have to compromise. We can all speak our understanding, such as it is, without fear of being censored. In this day and age, you don't get executed for it, but you lose your job for it. You lose the respect of your peers if you're in academia, etc. And I think all of us, all three of us, are free of any such external pressure. It's no coincidence. It's because of in each case, I believe that our love of truth, the universe, let's put it like this, the universe has cooperated with our love of truth and has provided circumstances for each of us where we can speak freely without fear of censorship or condemnation. That's one thing. And then there's another thing, which in a way is possibly a deeper reason that enables us to do what we do, in that our sense of ourself is no longer invested, at least to a large degree, no longer invested in the amount of respect we derive from our colleagues, whether we're admired or not, how many Facebook likes. Our sense of identity is derived from our intuition and recognition of truth. And that gives you great courage. Doesn't mean to say that you necessarily go out fighting or that you become very argumentative, but it gives you this quiet courage to stay with truth, such as you understand it, and to speak it.